Oh, baby. What up, Duke? What up, Roasters? What up, YouTube, Twitch, the Xfinity mobile text line? Everybody getting off their graveyard shifts, baby daddies, baby mamas, strippers, Anna Michelle, good morning. Cops, firefighters, CHP officers, good morning.
On this date, January 12th, 2013.
Can I guess?
Go.
Football related?
Yep.
Of course. Oh, Niners beat
The Green Bay Packers
in the wild card game.
In the final ever, it was divisional round, but final ever.
Last game at the Stick.
Playoff game at Candlestick.
That was it next year, huh? The next season when
they went on. They went to the frozen tundra and they won the wild card game where Kaepernick ran. Frank Gore made the great block. Colin Kaepernick runs 10 years ago to this day. Runs for 181 yards and 2 touchdowns. Threw 2 scoring touchdown passes to Michael Crabtree. And the 49ers hung 45 on the Green Bay Packers. 45-31 they win.
Remember they threw a pick 6, Kaepernick did, and it was like,
first drive.
He's not ready.
Yeah.
7-0.
Rocco was sitting next to me in that game. We had like a whole 10 group of us in the south end zone, and 2 plays in, he elbows me and goes, he could run for 200 today. I looked at him and I'm like, what are you talking about?
Right.
He ran for almost 200 that
no
day.
doubt. By the way, shout out to John in West Allies, Wisconsin. Just ordered a Relevant and DPOY shirt.
Let's go.
Get yours right now at 957thegameshop.com, 957thegameshop.com. Let's go up to Seattle. One of my main men, I joined the show yesterday, the Softy and Dick Show, KJR, up in Seattle. Dick Fain, what's happening, man? He's the voice of the Seattle Storm. Don't know what you're going to do without Sue Bird this season, but what are you going to do without Seahawks football after Saturday, Dick? What's happening?
Oh, boys. I'm wondering, is anybody going to show up for the game? Because that's a rumor around here that Seahawk Nation sees the rain down there, and they're just going to take the $99 flight and fill your stadium up because nobody wants to go to see a Niners game in the rain down there.
Oh, Dick, Seattle was up there at Lumen Field where there's a lot of red and gold up there in mid-December. A lot of Seahawks fans didn't want to show up to that game, the hat and T-shirt game for the Niners.
Yeah, it's been a weird vibe in the building this year. There's been a couple of games that got loud, but there's been so many Seahawks fans that were either in A, wait and see mode on this team, or B, most of the people were like, well, this team's going to suck this year, so am I really going to invest my time and energy and vocal cords? And then look what Pete Carroll did. Look what Pete Carroll did. A team that had a 5.5 over-under in Vegas to win this year makes the playoffs with a 9-8 record. And I tell you, that's what Niner fans and the rest of the NFC West should be more concerned about than Niner fans being concerned about this game on Saturday. The fact that Pete Carroll, who many people had said had the worst football team in the NFL in August. I heard that all over the place.
Wait, time out. They were not worse than the Texans. No one said a team with DK Metcalf and Kenneth Walker, who was a stud in college. No one is sitting there going, the Texans. Texans don't have one player anyone cares about. Like, come on. Be realistic a little.
Go check my Twitter, and from about 2 days ago, and I posted a beautiful Colin Cowherd 90 seconds.
Well, Cowherd's a fool.
National television. Well, you just said nobody. You just said nobody thought the Seahawks were going to be the worst team in the NFL.
We don't acknowledge him on this show.
The Seattle Seahawks are the worst team in the NFL. And so that's somebody, right? And he's got a fairly big platform.
Hey, Dick, Colin Cowherd shooting like 10% this season. We can all laugh at him.
He makes Draymond from 3 look automatic.
He's been awful. All right, Seattle's coming down here. DK Metcalf acknowledged that, hey, this is one of the bigger rivalries in football. It's still alive here. And I believe the Niners' weakness on defense is, the back end of the secondary. Hufanga's been beaten deep. Gibson's been beaten deep. De'Amalo Lenore's been picked on a little bit. Does Seattle feel like they have enough offensively to score against this defense that's been number 1 in the league throughout the season?
Well, they certainly haven't shown it, that's for sure. There's no question about that. But one thing Pete Carroll has not done, and he admitted to it after the second Niner game, was committing to the run. And the only way that the Seahawks were going to beat the Niners in that game at home was to commit to the run. And there was only 12 carries for Ken Walker. And now Ken Walker was a little banged up at the time. If you look at Ken Walker's game-by-game log, there's 4 separate segments to Ken Walker's season. There's the extended preseason where he's getting like 6 touches a game.
Is that when Penny was the lead dog?
Yes, Penny was the lead dog there. Ken Walker was getting like 6 touches a game. So you kind of throw that out.
Yeah.
And then Penny gets hurt, Ken Walker's fresh, Ken Walker's healthy, and he's going for 100 yards a game. And then he gets banged up a little bit, and I think Pete Carroll was a little bit worried about A, him getting banged up, and B, how many carries am I going to give this rookie in the first in his first season? And there's about 3 or 4 games there, and the Niner game was one of them where they just did not commit to him at all. And then Pete Carroll finally said, all right, he's healthy, to hell with this. I'm throwing him back in there. I'm giving him the ball 20-plus touches a game, and Ken Walker's averaging 130 yards a game on the ground the last 4 games. So it has to start with number 9.
Yeah.
Offense has to start with 9. Then you want to take your deep shots. You got to do it off the play action. And it's not going to be a situation where Walker's going to feast early because your front is too big. Your front is too tough. Ken's going to hit the wall many times in the first and second quarter. What you try to do, though, is you just keep going at it. You keep getting your 3.5 yards to carry. You just keep trying to move the chains. Even if you only got 6 points at halftime, then eventually the plan is it'll break down, and you can get some big runs from Ken Walker late, and you can get some play-action stuff late. That's the only way I see the Seahawks winning this game. I don't see the Seahawks winning this game scoring 17 points in the first half, being up 17-10, and holding on to the lead. I just don't see that happen.
Let's break down Geno Smith before we talk about that Thursday night game, because Bonte and I were rewatching that, and we'll get to that in a second. Like, Geno, there's a lot here with Geno. We were all rooting for him because I liked him coming out of West Virginia, and we all know that your situation stunk with the Jets, and he never really got a fair shake. I'm really impressed with what he's done this year. It feels like he's playing for so much. Contract extension, staying in Seattle. They've got that top 5 pick from Denver coming their way. Like, this game is a lot for Geno Smith, no?
I think you're right. I don't think he realizes it, though. He has been so even keel all year. And he doesn't make mistakes because he feels pressure. He makes mistakes because he tries to make plays. And he tries to make plays that sometimes are there, and he has had brilliant touchdown passes to win games. The DK Metcalf catch in triple coverage against the Rams in the first game. Last week, the Tyler Lockett over the top. I mean, my God, the best quarterback in the NFL could not have put that ball in any better spot than he got it to Tyler Lockett 40 yards downfield. So Geno is going to give, and Geno is going to take away. And I tell you talk about Colin Collard being wrong. I was completely wrong on Geno Smith at the beginning of the year. I didn't want to see Geno. I didn't want to smell Geno. I didn't want to touch Geno. I wanted Drew Lock to be the starting quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks. My point was this. Hey, we haven't seen what Locke can give you. We've seen what Geno can give you, and all he can do is check the ball down, and he never wants to make big plays. He never wants to make mistakes. And then all of a sudden, Geno gets a starting job, and it's like, it just awakened for him. He's like, hey, I got the start. I got nothing to lose now. I'm just going to go let it rip. And for the first half of the season, he let it rip for mostly touchdowns and not very many interceptions. In the back half of the season, I don't know really the reasoning behind it, but he's played the same type of game. He's just made more mistakes in the second half of the season than he did in the first half of the season.
Dick Fain, 93.3 KJR, the Softy and Dick show up there, the best show up there in the Pacific Northwest, no doubt about that. Breaking down Hawks and Niners, wild card round, Saturday, 1:30, Levi Stadium. All right, looking at this defense of Seattle, because you just mentioned, Dick, how if you guys have a 17-10 lead at halftime, it's not going to be enough. You're going to need to score more because of this defense. So what's been going on with the defense? Is it a lack of pass rush? Is it a lack of health? Is it a lack of a secondary that's able to contain wide receivers on the outside? What's been the number one issue for this defense this season?
Well, the number one overall, I would say, is stopping the run. I think a big part of that, though, is the middle of that defensive line had some big-time injuries about a month ago, and that's when they were at their worst. I mean, there was no Al Woods. Brian Monet was out. Shelby Harris was out. You're going to get those guys back. And over the last 2 weeks, they have been back, and they have looked very, very good. Now, they haven't faced Christian McCaffrey, that's for sure, but they've shut down good running backs this year. I mean, they shut down Saquon Barkley. I mean, they've played in spurts. It's almost been like the situation with Ken Walker that I told you about. When the defensive line has been healthy, they have played well. When the defensive line has been injured, they have been like a sieve. And so that's why I think that the number one stat in this game that I'm going to be looking at is yards per carry. What is the yards per carry differential that McCaffrey, Mitchell, that running game is going to get versus Ken Walker and the Seahawks running game. If you're talking about within like a 1 yard difference, because San Francisco is going to run for more yards per carry than Seattle is. I'm just chalking that up. But is it 4.5 to 3.9? I can tolerate that. Is it 5.2 to 3.6? If that's the case, then it's going to be a 3-touchdown San Francisco win.
You know, we look back at Bill Walsh, and everybody universally loves him now. But in real time, there were people that were frustrated with him. Quarterback decisions, playoff losses. Like, there was a lot. But it seems foolish now, looking back. Like, he's universally loved. I look at the Seahawks franchise as a whole. I got tremendous respect for Pete and for Mike Holmgren and all the coaches that they've had. Steve Largent, Russell Wilson, Sean Alexander. I mean, they had some great players up there. Is Pete the most important Seahawk of all time?
Ooh, most important. I mean, I think you can absolutely make a great argument, and it's fun. It's interesting you brought up the Bill Walsh.
Because I think Bill's the most important Niner, I think, of all time. If we were to say most important Niner to where this fan base is today.
Well, I think if Pete goes the rest of the way and turns this franchise around twice, it's one thing to turn a franchise around one time and win a Super Bowl. That's really impressive. But then you trade away your star quarterback who's disgruntled and you reset, you quote unquote rebuild, the word that all of us fans and media members were using, but was never using that word? Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll never said rebuild once, and he says, I don't operate that way. Like, Pete Carroll is a winner. Like, he doesn't. Yeah. Pete Carroll, all he does is win. So he doesn't see a rebuilding roster and say, "Well, I can't win with this." No, that's not how he operates. So he goes out and he makes the playoffs in the very first year with this brand spanking new team with Geno Smith at quarterback. Yes, I think he's the most important Seahawk of all time. And it's interesting you brought up people being frustrated with Bill Walsh when he was there. I'm at odds with Seahawk fans all the time that like to complain about Pete Carroll. I'm like, what do you want, man? You've got Pete freaking Carroll. What do you want? I mean, all he does is win for you. Oh, yeah, well, he got us to the Super Bowl a couple times. Then what do you do after that? Well, he gets you to the playoffs every single year. All you got to do is, get your bus ticket, jump aboard, and we'll see how far the ride lasts, right? That's what Pete Carroll does every single year for you guys. I don't know what Seahawk fans I just don't understand some of the negativity towards Pete Carroll. Not that it's rampant, but it's there.
And you guys are going to get a top draft pick from the Denver Broncos after trading Russell Wilson, probably the most accomplished quarterback in Seahawks franchise history. And then, look, Seattle's got a young defense. They've got young players on offense. You guys will be around for a while. This rivalry is alive and dead. And I think a lot of people said RIP to the rivalry last year with Russell Wilson moving on. But it's back. And it's the West Coast is better when the Hawks and Niners are bitter rivals again, Dick.
Absolutely. I mean, this is what's supposed to happen. I mean, the Seahawks haven't played the Niners enough in the playoffs. That's what's the interesting part. Yeah. Niners have been good the last 20 years. Seahawks have been good the last 20 years, and they hardly ever meet in the playoffs. So this is cool, even if it's a situation where the Niners are a lot closer to peaking right now than the Seahawks are. It's still going to be fun for these two teams to face, and you would imagine the way the Niners are built, especially if Brock Purdy is the guy, which we don't know if he is or not, but he could be. If he's the guy, then you guys are going to stay up there in double-digit wins for the next few years. And the Seahawks, starting next year, I would imagine, would be in double-digit wins and have a better opportunity to win those playoff games.
Yeah, you'll be watching from home, right? You're going to be watching the game from the house on television?
I will. On Saturday, believe it or not, I'm going to be announcing a swim meet for my kids. And I'll have my phone right next to me watching the game. But you know what? It's good karma because the last time I announced the swim meet was the Seattle Mariners' huge comeback in the playoffs against the Toronto Blue Jays to win the series. So I'm like, okay, this worked out the first time in miraculous fashion. Maybe we're going to have a miraculous comeback while I'm announcing the swim meet here on Saturday afternoon. What do you think of that?
Well, what I think about that is that I want you to pay close attention to the fan noise. Ours is authentic. Yours is pumped through speakers.
Oh, man. You know what I love? My favorite part about watching road games on TV is at the end of the game when the Seahawks win, with about 2 minutes left, you hear the Seahawks. Hawks, all just ringing through the stadium, and I just can't wait to hear that at about 4:30 p.m. on Sunday.
Dick, you don't even believe that. I can hear it in your voice. Dick, you're a good sport, man. Always good talking to you, man. Have a good show today up there in Seattle.
All right, boys. We'll talk to you later, man.
Absolutely. Dick Fain, man. He's a cool dude.